Hey, so I wrapped up the install on your Electrum Saber's Aurora hilts. Got installed with a removable chassis with a Proffie v3.9. I also experimented with adding a crystal chamber into the chassis, so I'll show that off in a second. So up there you have your illuminated NeoPixel connector. We have the control box, the touch switch pad control box here. I also replaced the LEDs. So originally they were all orange. I replaced the top ones with green and then replaced the bottom ones with red. So to access the internals, to access the chassis, just unscrew the pommel, revealing the chassis. So the speaker may get caught in the pommel a bit, so just make sure you hold onto the chassis so you can slide the pommel out. Once that's done, you can slide the chassis out, like so. So here's your removable chassis in a glitter blue finish. We have our Proffie v3.9 here, crystal chamber over here, removable chassis connector up there, and an 18650 battery holder. Down here we have our kill switch, 20mm bass speaker, and then we also have a USB-C port over here. So one of the features of the Proffie v3.9 is that it exposed pads to wire up a USB-C port. So this can handle both configuring the board as well as charging if you want. So as a result of that, I've actually flipped the orientation of the Proffie board so the SD card is facing up. And you won't have access to the boot and reset switches anymore. So this is what this button is here for. So this is actually wired up to the boot button in case you need to put the board into bootloader mode to upload a config. So that happens if you're currently uploading config and you remove the USB-C cable. So to put the board into bootloader mode, you would hold down the boot switch and then just toggle the kill switch. So that would emulate holding down the boot button and then hitting the reset button. To the back here, because this is a removable chassis, I've also added two tactile switches. One of them is wired up to the main switch, and the other one is wired up to the auxiliary switch. So even though this is a touch switch saber, I've also wired up additionally these two tactile switches here. So these act as tactile switches with the same functionality as the main switch and the aux switch. And then these would interface with the touch buttons. Down here, I've also added some accents like decorative PCBs I designed recently, just to kind of add some contrasting color to the chassis. So let's put a battery in here. Make sure you insert it in negative side first, and then flip the kill switch on.
May cause internal bleeding.
So that was the Futurama font. Let's toggle it back to the Luke font.
I'll never turn to the dark side.
So we have the crystal chamber over there, which duplicates the main blade's blade style. So whatever color you have set to, whatever effects that it has, it will also mimic it here. So for a Luke font, it has a green blade until you want to change the blade color. Blaster blast. Flash on flash, which is also reflected in the crystal. So let's insert the chassis back into the hilts. So to the back of the chassis, you'll notice that there's a channel here with these two connectors. So the connector up here is responsible for connecting and controlling the LEDs on the switch plate. And the one down here is responsible for the touch buttons on the switch plate. So when inserting the chassis, make sure that you line up this channel with the control box and then just slide that in. So once it's fully connected, these two sets of LEDs will mimic the kind of like Luke's green and red arrow LEDs on his control box. So it's using the FET style for the green arrows and the red arrows. So it has this blinking effect while the saber is not on or when it's retracted. And then when it's on, all of the LEDs turn on. Let's put a blade in here. So here I have a 1-inch dagger test blade. Just gonna slide that in. Your retention screw is actually very conveniently this red thumb screw over here, so just loosen that. And just slide the blade in. And yeah, the pixel connector is configured for blade detection, so I make that sound when it connects, and a disconnection sound. So let's slide that back in and hold the blade in place. So this is the Luke font by, I believe, Syndicate Custom Fonts, the same as FR as you said last time. So we have our main switch up there, auxiliary switch down here, blaster blocks, flash on flash, accent swings as well, smooth swings. And the saber is pretty loud with the 28mm bass speaker fully enclosed. We also got swing on and twist off. So let's cycle through.
Always remember,
some of the fonts.
your focus determines your reality.
So these are the same fonts that you loaded on, I believe, your Electrum Razor and the previous install that we did.
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
For your own good, stay out of this affair.
And then we also replaced some of the sound fonts on there. So like the Kyberphonic Kyber's Workshop White, we replaced it with the Ahsoka fonts.
I'm right.
We added the Futurama fonts.
Something inside me has always been there.
As well as the Mad Captain font. So let's get
Ahsoka Tano.
this one with a silver blade color. So for white fonts, we use silver instead of white just to save on battery consumption, and also you can show white effects on the blade.
I'm Jordan.
All the same fonts as before.
Ancient harness the power of the mind.
And the grand prize winner!
The Hypno-Toad.
Here's the Futurama font.
I'll never turn to the dark side.
So there you go. Here's your Electrum Aurora installed with a Proffie v3.9 in a custom crystal chamber chassis. So I'm going to be loading the config for the Saber onto SD card and also send it over to you. So if you have any questions, please feel free to let me know. And as always, thank you so much for letting me work on this, and may the Force be with you.